Welcome to this deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we're getting into something incredibly relevant for pretty much all of us, really.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to unpack some core ideas from material you shared excerpts from The Focused Mind, 7 Pathways to Concentration.
Yeah, and the mission, it's pretty clear. Let's pull out the most important nuggets from this source.
Right.
Give you some actionable understanding of how you can genuinely improve your concentration, your focus,
Especially now.
especially today. Yeah. When distraction isn't just like present, it
Mhm.
often feels like the default setting, doesn't it?
Totally. The source material really leans into just how hard that is, maintaining focus, I mean.
Right.
With all the tech, that constant fire hose of information always vying for our attention.
But the core message, and this is hopeful, is that our minds can be trained. It's not like you're stuck.
Not a fixed state, exactly.
So what this material puts full in center is this really foundational idea.
Okay.
Success, like in any area of your life, they argue it starts with a stable mind, good concentration.
And not just work success.
No. Wise decisions, acting efficiently, handling problems without, freaking out, all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Okay, this is where it gets interesting straight away.
Okay.
Because they don't say instability is, like, a failure.
Mm.
They actually acknowledge that fluctuation is totally natural. It's just part of being human.
Yeah.
So the insight isn't about achieving perfect stillness,
Yeah.
which sounds impossible anyway.
Right. It's recognizing that instability is the starting point. That's where you begin.
That feels like a crucial distinction.
It is. Mastery isn't about, eliminating the waves completely. It's more about reducing the amplitude, making them smaller, less disruptive,
Right.
working with your nature, not fighting against it. And you do that through, practice, building better habits.
So, okay, we understand a stable base is key. And it's built through practice, not just wishing.
Yeah.
Where does the source take us next?
Well, it moves to understanding focus itself, the nature of it. It's presented as the hidden power of the mind. So it's not just gritting your teeth and trying to pay attention.
Right. It's framed as more fundamental, a mental power, something that can literally shape the direction your life takes.
Yeah, according to this material, when you can direct your attention with intention,
Intention. Okay.
your capacity for learning, for solving problems, creating things, it all increases dramatically.
And the emphasis is on intention, like you said, not brute force.
Exactly. The sources suggest it's about creating the right conditions, so concentration can emerge and flourish.
That feels really different. Less like a battle, more like, I don't know, gardening?
Ah,
Yeah, cultivating it. They use a great analogy, actually, comparing it to planting a tree.
oh, yeah.
You don't yell at the tree, grow faster. Right.
No.
You focus on preparing the soil, giving it water, making sure it gets sunlight. That's the kind of approach they recommend for focus, preparing the conditions.
I like that, preparing the soil for the mind. Which leads perfectly into the next point, which kind of challenges a common idea about where we practice this stuff.
Let me guess. It's not just on the meditation cushion.
Bingo. Every second is an opportunity to be mindful.
Okay.
This pushes back hard against that idea that mindfulness is this special activity you schedule in, like 20 minutes in the morning, and that's it.
So it's more integrated.
Totally. The material makes it really clear. You don't need a special time. You don't need a special place. Every single moment,
Every breath.
every small action all day long holds that potential for mindfulness.
So, okay, give me an example. Like
Yeah.
feeling my feet on the ground walking.
Exactly. Or noticing the temperature of the water when you wash your hands, really tasting your food instead of just, shoveling it in while your mind's already on to the next meeting.
These are tiny things, micro moments, you could call them.
They are. And the sources suggest that engaging in these small acts of just being present actively trains your brain. It teaches it not to automatically drift off into random thoughts all the time.
It builds that focus muscle.
It builds a muscle.
Yeah, building that muscle seems crucial, especially when, let's be honest, our minds feel so cluttered most of the time.
Right. Which brings us neatly to a pathway about finding space. Mental space.
Okay.
Pathway 4. Meditation is creating space for yourself. In a world that's just constantly loud, demanding,
Non-stop.
the idea of intentionally carving out some peaceful space for your mind becomes vital.
And here's a key thing from the source, right? It busts that myth. Meditation isn't about stopping your thoughts.
Oh, absolutely. That's what trips so many people up. They think they're failing because thoughts keep coming.
Yeah, I can't empty my mind.
Exactly. But the goal isn't an empty void. It's about creating empty space.
Yep.
Room Room for the mind to rest, to process, to kind of regain its strength.
Like clearing the RAM on your computer.
Perfect analogy, but for your brain. Mental breathing room.
I like that,
Well,
mental breathing room. And this space isn't necessarily like a quiet room, is it? The material says it's a mental state you can learn to access.
that's the powerful part. And the sources suggest as you build this capacity, you can learn to create this peaceful space, even when, chaos is swirling all around you.
Wow. Imagine being able to find that little pocket of calm in the middle of a genuinely stressful situation.
Sounds incredible, right? But also incredibly challenging to get there.
Definitely. And achieving that kind of capacity, it seems like it would absolutely require knowing how your own mind works, like really knowing it.
Precisely. Which leads to the next pathway. Self-observation is the gateway to development.
Okay.
Lasting development and concentration, according to this material, has to start with understanding yourself, your own patterns.
So becoming like the scientist of your own mind.
Kinda, yeah.
Observing your patterns, like figuring out when exactly do I tend to lose focus? What specific things reliably scatter my attention? What helps me pull it back?
Yes, all of that. But here's where the source adds a really critical warning or caveat.
Uh-oh.
This self-observation, it must be done with immense gentleness and absolutely without judgment.
Ah, okay. So it's not about beating yourself up every single time your mind wanders off.
Whoa, God, no.
It's more like just noticing, oh, there it goes again.
Yeah.
And maybe, wonder what triggered that.
Exactly that. It's like studying clouds. You just observe objectively to understand the process. You don't criticize the cloud for being a cloud, right?
Understand the patterns, but don't layer on the guilt.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
And speaking of patterns, there's one pattern the source specifically calls out as maybe not so helpful for focus, which is habits.
Yeah, pathway 6, don't let yourself become a slave to habits. Now, this might sound a bit weird at first.
Totally. Don't we usually think good habits help focus? Like automate the boring stuff?
We do, so we can focus on more important things. But the source kind of flips this.
Yeah.
Their point is about the automaticity itself.
How so?
When we do things completely on autopilot, the brain is kind of freed up to drift, to chase random thoughts. It pulls us out of the present moment, which is where focus actually lives.
Okay, so being too automatic can actually hinder focus sometimes.
That's the idea. The proposed solution isn't like blowing up your whole life.
Right.
It's about introducing subtle novelty, breaking old routines in small ways. That helps stimulate the brain, makes it pay a bit more conscious attention, demands presence.
So it's not about ditching your morning coffee routine entirely, maybe, but just taking a different route to the grocery store sometimes.
Yeah, or brushing your teeth with your other hand just to feel how different it is.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Or trying a new food, just small shifts that require you to actually pay attention instead of just gliding through on autopilot.
It wakes up that part of your brain that was just kind of zoning out.
Exactly. Which brings us to the 7th pathway, and maybe the most challenging idea in the material, I think.
Okay, I'm ready.
Emptiness is an opportunity for fulfillment.
Ooh. Yeah, that feels so opposite to how we're trained to think, isn't it? Empty time feels like wasted time.
Right. If you're not doing something, actively producing something, you're being unproductive. That's the message we get.
Constant.
But the source argues the exact opposite. These moments of doing nothing, they're described as golden opportunities.
Golden opportunities for what, though? Not external stuff.
Not for external productivity, no. For restoring the mind. For strengthening concentration, allowing the mind to just be, without constantly stuffing new information into it. It helps it process and organize everything that's already in there.
This really forces you to question your definition of productivity, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
They suggest finding brief moments each day where you genuinely do nothing at all.
Yeah. No phone scrolling, no music, no planning the next 5 things on your list.
Just sitting quietly,
Yeah.
maybe looking out the window.
Perhaps. Or just observing what's around you without needing to label it or interact with it. Just being.
And these seemingly unproductive moments, they're presented not as a luxury, but as essential, like power sources.
Essential power sources for building both concentration and inner peace. They're not voids you have to fill up immediately. They're reservoirs you need to create.
Wow. Okay. So let's recap this journey. We've gone through these 7 pathways from the material. Understanding that stability is something you build, not something you're just given. Seeing focus as this active, intentional power.
Finding mindfulness everywhere, not just in special moments.
Right. Using meditation to create that essential mental space, that breathing room.
The vital role of gentle self-observation, knowing yourself without judging yourself.
And the surprising trap of autopilot habits, how they can sometimes hinder presence.
And finally, yeah, the profound potential hidden in what looks like emptiness.
The absolute core message from the source, it seems undeniable. Controlling your mind, maintaining focus, it's a skill.
Like any skill, like learning piano or a sport, it demands continuous practice.
There isn't some final finish line you cross and suddenly you're focused forever.
No, it's presented as a progressive journey, development over time.
And importantly, the material frames this as deeply personal, an exploration, not some kind of focus competition.
Exactly. Every small step you take, every moment you choose conscious attention or you choose that stillness, it holds value. It counts.
It's about patiently building that capacity, little by little, day by day.
Patiently.
So, okay, if constant activity and input are presented as kind of the enemies of focus,
Yeah.
let's really sit with that final idea. Emptiness is an opportunity for fulfillment.
Yeah.
The source isn't saying, be idle all the time. Of course not. But what does consistently choosing nothing time, even just for moments each day? What does that mean for how you personally define productivity or success? What if maybe intentionally doing less in those specific quiet moments actually allows you to achieve more with clearer focus, maybe better results in all the other moments?
It really makes you think, doesn't it, about where true power and effectiveness actually come from. Maybe it's not always from constant doing.